Knowledge for Men, Episode 8.
Welcome to knowledgeformen.com, interviewing the most successful and inspiring people to give you real-world advice to rise above the odds, live a life of purpose, reach your full potential, and become the man you were born to be. And now, your host, Andrew Farabee.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. We're going to start off with a review of the week from iTunes. And today's winner, Tyler Gaines. His title, Inspiring, Motivating, and Intellectually Enlightening. His review, I've been an avid reader of Knowledge for Men's articles on their website, and now I'm extremely excited to be able to hear and get a new level of connection and understanding from the material on the podcast. Knowledge for Men is not your normal medium for men's health and wellness. However, it provides its followers with ideas and questions your motives and empowers not only men, but everyone to seize what they want in life. Whether you want insight on relationships or career and business aspirations, it's all intertwined at knowledgeformen.com. Knowledge for Men is great for any age. Highly recommended. Tyler Gaines, thank you. And for all the reviews that have come through, we have over 80 now. Thank you so much. It does so much for the podcast, and it allows more and more people all over the world to be able to get this knowledge, and it improves the rankings of the podcast. So I appreciate that, and continue on with the reviews. And at every podcast, I will do a review of the week. All right, guys, let's get started with our show. I have Richard Ruina. He's the founder and CEO of PUAtraining.com. He's voted the #1 pickup artist in the world. He's trained over 3,000 men, and he's the author of the best-selling book, The Natural, How to Effortlessly Attract the Women You Want. Richard's been featured in the BBC, Maxim, Men's Health, FHM, Ask Men, The Independent, and many more publications. Richard, I'm happy to have you on the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
All right, rock and roll. Richard, let's go ahead and kickstart the show with a favorite success quote of yours and why.
The only quote that I've got, I think it's on my Facebook or somewhere, and it's the superior man is modest in speech but exceeds in action. I don't like to talk too much. This is obviously I will now because you're going to be asking me questions, but usually when I meet new people, I don't like to brag or talk about what I've done or what I'm going to do. I like people to be, surprised when they find things out about me, and for me to be always motivated to take action, because if you talk a lot, you tend to do less, because the act of talking about something kind of fulfills part of the emotion you get from accomplishing something.
Richard, I couldn't agree more. Talking less, do more. If you talk about your goals more than you take action on those goals, then the act of talking does fulfill a part of that satisfaction, so you feel less motivated to actually accomplish those goals. Now, Richard, let's move into your journey. How did you get started? Share with the audience your story.
Well, yeah, right now I was a seduction coach for many years. Now that business has grown much bigger than I ever thought it would. And I consider myself more a businessman, but I still produce the company's training programs, make videos, and interact with customers on a daily basis. Back when I was 21, I was a virgin. I hadn't kissed a girl. I hadn't been on a date. And I was very shy, very introverted, and very, that meant that I was very unhappy in my life in many ways. So it was the kind of pain in that situation that forced me to do something. And when I found out about pickup, it's pickup and it has some negative connotations, but really what it's about is improving your skills with women, and as a byproduct you become better socially, you become less shy, you become better from everything from sales to networking to public speaking. So I started immersing myself in in pickup, but also in all kinds of psychology and self-help stuff, hypnosis, everything that I could find that I thought would kind of round out my character and turn me into the guy that I wanted to become. And along the way, I realized that, I'd accumulated a lot of knowledge, and I decided that I wanted to start teaching. So I started teaching for like $10 an hour. And from there, I got better and better as a teacher, and myself as a guy that's good with women and good with people generally. And the business kind of grew from that. So it didn't start from wanting to make money. It started from wanting to do something that at the time I thought was really cool and interesting.
Okay, there's a huge lesson here. You were 21 when you first started, a virgin, and you hadn't even kissed a girl at this age. So you acknowledged where you were in life. You took massive action to overcome the pain that this was causing you. And the result was radical transformation in your life, and not only with women, but in business, socially, in your personal life, then on to become the number one pickup artist in the world. Or wait, is that what you call yourself?
Businessman. Or if I have to delve a bit deeper, I might say that, I'm a dating coach. I give dating advice. The idea of pickup is, you go to a bar and you pick up a girl and you sleep with her. And it's a very narrow and maybe sleazy sounding profession. So although, we've got a lot of women that work for the company, including two over 50 years old who work for the business, and they're cool with it. They think it's great. When people see our live events where we're teaching the guys, they see that the guys are good. But because that first, hey, I'm a pickup artist, that just doesn't sound cool to regular people. So, if it's guys that recognize me or have read the book and stuff, that's cool. But for everyday situations, I'm a businessman first and maybe a dating coach.
Okay, businessman and dating coach it is. Okay, let's dive deeper, Richard. Can you share with the audience what it was like when you first started? You were going out as much as possible. You were reading everything you could get your hands on. So how much time were you putting into this? What did your days look like? And when did you start to see results?
When I was 21, I by chance got a girlfriend for 2.5 years. She was my first girlfriend. And then when I was 25, I'd still only had that one girlfriend. And so that was the time when I started doing things. And I had a couple of $1,000s of savings. And I dedicated a few months to almost do it full time. So I lived in a busy area in central London. I moved there. I was in a quiet place in Cambridge. I moved to the busiest area in London. I was going out every day in the daytime, trying to talk to girls every single night, to a bar, to a club. Sunday, Monday night, we'd find somewhere that had a few people. And I tried stuff like I tried public speaking courses. I tried acting classes. I tried cooking class, I tried salsa class, everything that someone said, oh, I'm doing this, maybe you should come, or hey, have you seen this? Or I'm just browsing, the listings or whatever. And I would just say, yes, I'll do it to pretty much everything. So it was pretty much full time for a few months. It took maybe 3 months to start getting results.
It sounds like you became the yes man, where every opportunity that came your way, you just said yes, and you were open to trying new things and new experiences.
Yeah, I was the no man my whole life, and until then, people would invite me out. I was working in an office, and I would get invited to drinks after work, and I hated that. I never went. I would get invited to parties when I was at college and university. I always said no. And even when it came time that I knew I needed to move to London to make a change and to do this stuff, I was scared to do it for many months, and I held back for about 9 months. From doing it for no good reason other than being scared of what it was, scared of going there and failing. If I actually tried and it failed, I wouldn't even have the hope that I could do it. So that was what kept me from doing it, was the fear of failure. But once I started taking leaps of faith and trying things and seeing improvement and getting positive results, of course there were lots of failures, but because I saw those positive results, I became a yes man. It became kind of conditioned in me that last time I was in this position and I had a situation, I could say yes or no, and I said yes, it worked. So I need to keep saying yes.
Yeah, saying yes is uncomfortable and sometimes a bit scary, but on the other side of fear is growth and transformation. And Albert Einstein's definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You have to try new things. So during this process, Richard, when did you have your major aha moment where you realized you can become better with women and it's a skill you can improve upon? It's not something you either have or don't have.
I think what did it for me, I mean, everyone that doesn't know about the seduction area, they see maybe in their friends that there's some guy who's just good with girls and, maybe they're not. So they think that he has it and they don't. And that was my life growing up. I had a friend that was pretty good with girls. He was getting laid in his teens while I wasn't. And he had a car when he was young and all the girls liked him. And he had lots of dates and stuff and lots of interest from the girls. And I just thought he had had it and I didn't. I didn't think, what's he doing that maybe I could do, or how could I change my situation? What did it was seeing all of the stories in the seduction community of guys that were similar to me with nothing special, who became moderately to very skilled with women. So it was not anything that I saw in person. It was reading the stories of these guys and, watching videos and looking at products in the industry. And that was what inspired me and showed me that, if those guys can do it, they're not geniuses, they're not movie stars, they're just regular guys. A lot of them are quite nerdy, but they can do it. So can I.
Okay, so you're surrounding yourself with the right people, the people who were getting the results that you wanted, and you had mentors, then just took action on what they told you.
Pretty much, yes.
And that sounds so simple, but that is one of the keys to success. Jim Rohn has a popular quote: "You are the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with." And really take that into heart. Surround yourself with the right people, and you're going to get similar results. Now, Richard, despite having the right people around you, can you take us back to a time when you encountered a challenge on your journey?
Well, yeah, I mean, when you haven't spoken to many girls before and you haven't had female friends, if you're going to go out and you're going to approach 20 girls, you're going to do things that are going to be off. You haven't got social intelligence. You're trying to learn how to be socially intelligent. So there were lots of situations when, I said things and they took it the wrong way, thought I was being rude, but I wasn't. And, situations where they'd just be like, oh, please leave us alone. There were lots of these rejections. None were really horrible, but there were many, many times along the road where it was, a little bit embarrassing, or, obviously didn't go as I would have hoped along the way. And, so many times, like my first salsa dancing class, all my hands were sweaty, and then all the women were dancing with me and they were like, ugh, doing the face when they took my hands and stuff. There's millions of moments that now I can laugh about. At the time, they were really uncomfortable.
Yeah, handling rejection and understanding it's a part of the journey is just so important. All people who want to master a skill will have to deal with rejection and failure at some point on their path. So it's how you handle that and accept that is really how you're going to be able to move forward and grow and transform. So Richard, what kind of advice would you give to guys who are thinking about doing this or currently going through the process of transformation and are experiencing those challenges right now?
When you're transforming, you're going to be doing things that are unnatural, that are weird, that are not completely comfortable, and it's important to understand that that's just part of the process. And if your goal is clear in your mind, if that's really who you want to become and those are really the changes you want to make, then you should keep at it. And the key thing is to focus not on the end goal. So, I didn't sleep with a girl or get a girlfriend for many months. So I could have every day said, oh, today I didn't kiss a girl, get laid, or find a girlfriend, therefore I'm a failure. I didn't look at things like that. I was looking at each incremental improvement. Oh, I was able to do that slightly better today. I was slightly more comfortable with that. I got slightly better reaction there. And it was focusing on these small positive steps in the right direction that kept my spirits up.
So being uncomfortable is a part of the process. And don't focus on the end goal. Focus on the skill. Count your little wins because they add up in the end.
Yes.
And staying persistent and consistent will help you develop your own skill set. And for you, that was natural game. Can you share with the audience what that is and how they can use it?
The structure is, guys are out there and they could either have pages of like a movie script, things that they can learn and say, or they could have just an idea of the rough structure of how things work in a given situation. So in a bar, it's generally best not to approach and be sexual immediately. That could be sleazy and creep girls out. It's best to approach and start off by being a fun, sociable guy. Get them comfortable with you, make the friends on side, make sure they're cool with you being there and talking to their friend. And then there's a stage in the middle where you're kind of having a conversation, getting to know each other. You might go a little bit deeper. And then there's a point where it's time to be more seductive. You'll change the way you're looking at her to be slightly more sexual. You're going to change the way you speak to kind of slow down and build that sexual tension. And as well, if it's the right time to touch her, that would change as well. In the beginning, you can touch someone just on the arm as you're talking. At that time later on, you're going to kind of be a bit more lingering and a little bit more, not sexual, but familiar in your touches. And so there's that kind of rough process that goes through most pickup situations, meaning most situations of meeting a stranger and going from not knowing them to having that sexual tension and the moment where the kiss could be on.
All right, so getting rid of the canned pickup lines of things to say and do, and just understand the fundamentals of social dynamics, then escalate to being a little bit more physical and then maybe a little bit more sexual. Okay, and in this process, in your experience, what are common problems guys have when they're interacting with women?
Guys either have problems approaching, connecting, or seducing. Those are the things they normally have problems with. So by getting good at each of those three, they'll have what it takes.
Okay, so guys are struggling with either approaching, connecting, or seducing. Then how would you recommend guys to quickly improve in those three areas?
Nice thing to do would be go to a busy place. It could be like Oxford Street in London, or it could be like Union Square in New York or Fifth Avenue or something, and be with your buddy. And if he's into it, then if he's going to be doing it as well, then you can flick a coin and whoever loses goes first. And then the other person has to push the person whose turn it is to do approaches. And you do that until you've done whatever, 20 approaches or whatever it might be. If he's not into it, you're going to give him $100 and he's going to give you 10 back for every approach that you do. And in the beginning, you're going to, if you're really, really, petrified, then go somewhere where maybe you don't know your way around, get lost and ask directions to places, a coffee shop or to find something, a station, whatever you want to find your way back home, and slowly work on making the conversations longer and longer. So in the beginning, you're asking just for directions. And then after that, you're saying, oh, by the way, I like your scarf. And then after that, you're saying, oh, what are you doing today? And, it just gets a little bit longer and longer. And you should notice that after 10 or 20 approaches, not only you're more comfortable with the initial approach, but because you're more comfortable, you're getting better reactions. And you should have some conversations that are going into, 5 minutes or more. And then you can start to think about how to go for the number where you say, look, it's been great speaking with you. Why don't we grab a quick coffee now? You can even do that, go for the instant date. Or you could say, it's been great speaking with you. What's the best way to keep in touch? And, take her Facebook or phone number.
Okay, so you're saying go to a place where you can get a lot of experience, get an accountability partner, and keep pushing yourself to go further and further to gain a lot of reference experience with women.
Yes, and quantity helps. Don't be saying, oh, no, she's not a supermodel, and no, that girl's not kind of what I'm looking for a wife. Just go and speak to everyone, because it's about the skill of approaching a stranger and having them think you're okay to talk to, and standing there and have a conversation with you. It's pretty much the same, regardless of if it's a beautiful woman or a granny or whoever it is. So getting into the habit of just speaking to strangers is something that will make you more comfortable with speaking to women in general.
Right. It's about the skill. You can't be too picky, otherwise you're going to put too much pressure on yourself and get a lot of bad reference experiences. It's really going to run you down. So talk to everyone and just learn to develop your social skills. And Richard, after guys overcome the initial approach anxiety stage, oftentimes, like you mentioned, guys will struggle with connecting with a woman. So what kind of advice do you have for the listeners to help them better connect with a woman?
What guys often do is when a woman's given an answer, they're thinking about the next question, and they end up kind of peppering her with questions. I used to do an exercise where I'd observe a guy speaking to a beautiful girl, and I'd do kind of a tally to see how many questions in a row that they asked. And so they'd say, where are you from? She'd answer, what do you do? And she'd answer, oh, really? And what did you start? And he'd just go through, and it would often get into like 15, 20, 25 questions in a row. And for a woman on the receiving end, that's just awful. So it's nice to remember this structure for the connection phase, which will resemble the kind of conversation you have with your good friends and people that you're completely comfortable with, but will be different to the usual structure of a conversation with a stranger. So what you want to do is you want to ask a question, and when she gives the response, you need to talk a little bit about that. So if you're asking where she's from, first it helps to be genuinely interested. But when she gives her answer, you want to talk a little bit about that. So maybe you want to talk about how, it's a small, quiet place, and even if you've not been there, but you like to get away from the big city sometimes and go and relax, and it happens that your auntie lives out, blah blah blah, whatever it is that you can say about something. But when you're just talking a little bit on that subject, which is close to her, it just gives her a chance to relax and have the pressure off her versus asking constant questions. If you hit on something by chance that, kind of resonates with her, she will jump in and continue and give more and, give more information. After that, you have a choice of kind of going deeper into that subject, asking a kind of deeper follow-up question. And you should always be trying to get to her real, emotions and character traits and what makes her really who she is, away from that kind of resume type information. You can start there, but you always want to go deeper. So if you're into her job, what do you do and how long have you done it? And all of that stuff is fine. But really, does she love her job? How does it make her feel? What's her ambitions for the future? Does she get her satisfaction from the job, or is it something outside work? If it's outside work, then you want to be talking about that. So that's the thing to keep in mind. So when she's speaking, really listen, be open to it, and then speak a little bit on that subject, and then ask a deeper question or change subject. And what you'll notice is she starts to open up, she starts to give longer answers. And then after a while, she thinks, oh, you know what, this guy's interesting. I want to know something about him. And that's kind of an indicator that she's starting to get interested, is she's going to start asking you things about your life.
I like that. So you're really just branching off each question. So instead of going through a 21 question interview and just bombarding the girl, she gives you an answer, then you branch off of that.
Yes.
And then you talk about 3 or 4 things in that same topic.
Yeah.
You dig deeper into each answer and really get to know her.
Exactly. Yeah. These guys, I'd watch them and he'd be like, where are you from? And the girl says, Sweden. And he'd say, oh, cool. What do you do? And I'd be like, why would you kill that subject? Like, why did you ask it in the first place? The fact that she's from somewhere else and she's moved here, that's a big thing. She's changed her life, moved country. What do you know about Sweden, about Swedish people? Can't you say anything about that, really? Or maybe they say, oh, which city in Sweden? And she says, Stockholm. He's never been there. Oh, cool. He's got nothing to say about that either. So, change him from asking questions just for the sake of asking questions and asking the questions that people normally ask to kind of looking at a stranger, whether it's a girl or a guy, but it's someone we want to talk to, and think, how do I build up a picture of this person's life? And most importantly, what makes them really who they are, and getting away from that resume or, Facebook about information, the real information about what makes them who they are, what makes them different from other people, and then what allows us to connect with them on a deeper level.
That is so important. It's very powerful in every interaction with someone to be present to the moment.
Yes.
And actually listen to the person you're talking to. Guys are oftentimes nervous or anxious and thinking of what to say next to keep the conversation going, and think that as long as she's talking and her mouth is moving, then I'm doing good and I'm still in this set.
Yes.
So it's very important to understand being present to the moment and actually listening to the person and following up on what she's actually trying to communicate to you. All right, so let's say a guy's approaching, he's connecting, yet struggles with seducing a woman. How can guys be more effective seducers, Richard?
Yeah, a lot of guys are kind of scared to make a move. It can be for different reasons. Sometimes guys are, like a guy that's a very good telephone salesman or something, and he's great at just speaking. He's really good in the early stages. But there comes a time when you don't want to be cracking jokes. You don't want to be just, speaking really, really fast and telling stories. Seduction is actually about speaking less, creating those intimate moments where there's a pause, but you have nice eye contact. So you're speaking and then you say, yeah, I like that as well. Anyway, and blah, blah, blah. And you just have those little seconds. It feels like a long time, but it's probably really a second where you've just got that moment where there's calm, where there's eye contact, and she just gets a second to just feel something, and it'll increase her heart rate. So it's really the most important things when it comes to being seductive: talking less, feeling that slow vibe, and being more smoothing out everything, slowing down everything, and having that eye contact. You've got eye contact like you would use when you're talking to your sister, and then you've got eye contact where you're, with your girlfriend of 1 month, where you're looking at her and you're attracted to her and you're feeling something. So you want to have that second kind of eye contact, and you want to be very conscious of the vibe and keeping it smooth. Think of a seduction scene in the film. You don't have camera angles jumping around when they have that moment of intensity before they kiss. It's close, it's slow, the music is smooth, everything is smooth and slow. When it's the car chase, it's jumping around quickly. So you can think of the beginning of the interaction like a car chase, and when it's time for the seduction, you want to feel that smooth vibe and inject it into the interaction so that she feels it as well. So it's eye contact and the vibe is what you need to start to be good at seducing.
Yeah, that resonates with me. The salesman pitch. It's not this sales pitch where you're talking and talking in hopes that she's going to like you.
Yes.
Seduction is about slowing things down. It's more subtle. It's a comfortable silence between the two of you that builds that sexual tension.
Definitely.
And you talked about having that eye contact. Can you explain what that strong sexual eye contact looks like so the listeners can better understand?
Cool. So a sleazy guy kind of approaches a woman who he doesn't know, and he looks at her like he wants to have sex with her, and she's like, "Ugh, you're sleazy." That's what's going on. But sleaziness is basically unwanted, mistimed sexual interest. But there comes a time when you're in the interaction, you kind of want to look at her lips, and you want to look her in the eye, and in your mind you're thinking, "God, I want to kiss you right now," and maybe you've got a little smirk on your face, but it's a solid eye contact. It's not jumping around, from eye to eye and to the rest of the room and look around, because that breaks the seductive bubble as well. It's a near constant eye contact, maybe with occasional glances down at her lips to let her get the idea. And you're looking for her maybe to start to flush and to start to, you see her just getting a little bit flustered from it. If she's not feeling anything, then it's not seductive. Your heart races. Your heart should race when you're in that situation too. So eye contact needs to be not the same that you use with your family and females that you're not sexually interested in. You need to look at her and you need to be thinking in your mind, I want to kiss you right now. But you're just saying, oh yeah, I've never been to Thailand, but I'm thinking they're going there. But that's what you're saying. But in your mind, you think, God, I just want to kiss you. Never mind this Thailand stuff. And it's being sub-communicated. If you can think that, then she's going to feel the signals as well. She's going to pick up on it. And if she's still there and she's into it, it's on. If she starts to get slightly uncomfortable and she starts to change the pace of the conversation or look around the room or whatever, that it's not the right time. And you can break out of that mode too. But it's not like going in for a huge lunging kiss. It's not a high-risk thing. You're testing the water, and as long as she stays there, you increase it. And then you could just, put your finger on your lip and be like, shh. You could stroke your hand through her hair at some moment. You could take her hand and put it on your leg. All calibrating and feeling if the vibe is right, but always making those small incremental steps forward and kind of testing the water and making sure that it's on.
Yeah, that strong eye contact makes her feel like you two are the only people in the room. And aside from that eye contact, is there any other nonverbal things you're doing that adds to the interaction?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is non-verbal, and really the verbal element is not so important. So it's very easy to kiss a girl who either, you haven't talked to, or this conversation has been really mundane because you've had that sub-communication there that I kind of touched on. But things like you're saying, let's go get a drink, and you take her hand and you walk into the bar, and then you loosen your hand and you see if she's still gripping yours strongly. Is things like when you're in a venue or when you're walking down the streets, keeping your eyes up and having brief eye contact with everyone around the room, just to not only see what's going on and see, if a woman's body language is open, meaning she's facing the rest of the bar or you more than her friends that she's talking to, but just getting those little few milliseconds of information from each person about how friendly they would be to approach, how open they would be to a conversation when you're walking down the street, whether it's someone that is actually attracted to you. They're holding eye contact, maybe smiling for a second, then it might be worth chasing back after them and saying, hey, stop for a second. I saw you and you're actually really stunning and I'm in a rush, but, what's your name? And have a quick conversation, get their number. So non-verbal communication is everything up to the moment where you say hello. So it's incredibly important, and it's incredibly important in the seduction as well.
Yeah, communication is 90% body language, and it's not about what you say so much as it is to how you're saying it and doing it. So let's keep this going. I like how we're going through all the steps here. Now let's say a guy approaches a girl, connects with a girl, and seduces her and gets her number. Things went good in that whole interaction. And then he goes to call or text her the next day and gets no response from the girl. What advice do you have for guys experiencing this?
Yes, I just finished we created and released, and it's already sold out, so we're not selling it right now. So I can't kind of pitch it, a product on texting. So it's fresh in my mind. And the advice I'd give actually is to leave your phone at home. Go out into the street if you like meeting women in the daytime, and you're going to go for an instant date. You're not going for phone numbers. Phone numbers are worthless until you know whether the phone number is solid or not. So guys run around getting phone numbers and they're happy, but they turn out to be useless. So go out without your phone in the daytime, talk to the girl for 5, 10, 15 minutes and say, listen, I've got 20 minutes. Why don't we grab a quick coffee? If everyone says no to that when it's in the heat of the moment and you're right there, then they would never agree on texting, when they've got other options and they've got time to think about it, and they don't feel any social pressure. So until you can do that, you probably can't get solid numbers. Likewise, in the nighttime, forget about phone numbers. Go for, taking the girl for a dance on the dance floor, trying to kiss her, going to, an after party, changing location, going somewhere to grab something to eat. And when you do that for a while, you start to learn where that line is between the point where she actually would give you the number just to be polite to the point where she's actually into you and she really wants to see you again. When you have got a number, there's a lot you can do with texting, but the mistake most guys make is that they think every number is created equal and that each has an equal chance to take the girl on a date. It's really not the case. When it comes to texting, really quickly, you don't want to be asking loads of questions. You don't want to say, nice to meet you, do you want to go for a drink tonight? And she's, no, I'm busy. It's like, okay, what about tomorrow? So there's all of these traps that you don't want to fall into. So a really simple message sequence that really I shouldn't give because every situation is different, but it would be like, hey, it was nice to meet you on Friday. What kind of mischief are you causing today? And she says, I'm doing this, this, and this. And you say, cool, I'm doing that, that, and that. What are your plans for the coming week? And then she either leaves the door open by saying, I'm not really doing anything. Or she says like, oh, I'm super busy because I've got an exam on Wednesday. I've got this project deadline or whatever it is. And then after that, I'm kind of free. So not to say what you're doing tonight. She gets to knock you back every time. You're kind of testing the water there. And you say, when you've got the kind of idea of when she might be available, you say, cool, we should meet up for a drink on Thursday. I'll send you a text in the afternoon. And then she's like, all right, great. And then on Thursday, you say, okay, so today is the day. Let's meet at this place at this time. Is that good? Does that work for you? So just as kind of a universal one. Of course, in our texting product, we had thousands of examples and, using Facebook and Instagram and all the other things that you can use along the way. But that's kind of a quick and dirty method that works. If it's a girl that you didn't get to know that well and you think she might be worried about meeting you one-on-one, then go for some kind of group activity. Say that you're going with some friends to such and such bar. She should come and bring some friends. And then she gets to bring a girlfriend or two so that she can feel more relaxed.
Yeah, numbers don't mean anything if you aren't really connecting with the girl. The goal shouldn't be to get a number. It really should be to connect with a girl. Work on connecting and seducing women more because you're going to know right away if she's giving you a number to be polite or if she's actually into you. Two different things there. And with texting, you don't want to come off as needy. Just be casual and cool. Avoid having these long conversations via text and really try to meet up with her as soon as possible to get back to the connecting and seducing period. So that was a good crash course on texting, Richard. So what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned about women and dating in the last 7 years you've been doing this?
Guys are way too pessimistic on the chances of becoming very good with women. Women actually don't look at looks too much. If there's a guy that's too good looking, they're always worried that he'll cheat, and other women are always checking him out. They like to be the prettier one in a relationship, so it's less important than guys think. Guys think it's such a big deal that they can't do X or Y, but it's not like becoming an Olympic gold medalist. Is something that very stupid people can do very well. I know lots of stupid guys that are very, very good with girls. If they can do it, then pretty much anyone can. It just takes a small amount of concentrated effort. It's not like even getting a black belt in a martial art or anything. It's a lot more simple to get to the point where most guys would be happy, which is that you can see someone you like and you've got a pretty good chance of getting her number and getting a date with her. So it's a lot easier than guys think is the biggest thing I've learned along the way. And the second thing is that in this area, there's no substitute for face-to-face practice. I'm able to be in a bar and I can be looking down at the floor and I can tell just from a girl's leg or something that she's attracted to me. Just crazy things have happened over the years, and I've built up this intuition, and it only comes from thousands of interactions. You don't need superhuman intuition, but a little bit doesn't help. It doesn't hurt, and you can get that only in the real world. Chatting on Facebook and on online dating sites. Do not give it. They're much easier. Don't take the easy route. Go out there and do the hard, scary stuff, and you'll grow and become much better for it.
Yeah, that is so true. Learning to be good with women is something that anyone can learn. It's not something you either have or don't have. It's something you can go out and learn, just like an instrument, just like a sport. So stop thinking that you're not good looking enough. Women aren't as concerned about your looks as they are your personality. And that's what you're developing. That's the skill. And there's no replacement for hard work. Going out and doing those approaches and gaining those invaluable reference experiences. You have to go out and put in your time and develop and transform. And now, Richard, we've entered my favorite part of the show. Get ready.
Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guest will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Showtime.
Richard, how would you explain meeting and attracting women to a newcomer?
I'd say that, we go to a bar, I can give you some things to say to get started, and your goal is to speak to as many women as possible. That's the goal. You're not worried about phone numbers and dates. You're just going to speak to as many women as possible. That's how I'd explain it to someone that had never done it before.
Nicely said. Richard, what was holding you back from becoming the man you are today?
I was very shy. I had no idea, what to say. I wasn't comfortable in conversations. I wasn't comfortable being the center of attention. I couldn't hold eye contact with people. I used to go red every time I was slightly embarrassed. I used to sweat a lot. I used to look bad. I used to have terrible style. I wasn't popular. I often said stupid things. A lot of things held me back.
We could do the whole podcast on what was holding you back.
Yeah, exactly.
And briefly, what were some of the things that you did to overcome those challenges?
For each thing, I had an action point. So I wrote down all my shortcomings and I had an action point for each one. So, for my physical looks, I changed my hairstyle. I had like a monobrow and I got rid of that hair in the middle of the eyebrows. I whitened my teeth a little bit. I did the best I could with my fashion. I copied, someone that had very good fashion. I read a lot of books on humor and watched a lot of funny shows to try and be funny. I did, because of being a teacher of English, so I got used to being the center of attention and speaking in public. I did dancing classes and learned about wine and did stuff like that to just be a bit more James Bond. And I did acting classes. I tried to model some actors to be more attractive and to have better control over my kind of nervous tics and stupid mannerisms that I had back in the day. And I got a lot of brutal advice from people, and I had a lot of people around me that were way better in different areas so that I could kind of soak up what they were doing.
It looks like you identified the areas of opportunity in your life and you went out, took massive action, and found solutions. And on to the next question. What's the best advice you've ever received from a mentor?
I used to have this guy, Steve, who was a friend, and he'd be like, just fucking do it, man. It doesn't fucking matter at all. She's nobody to you. You're never going to see her again. Think about who you are, what you've achieved. And, he used to always give me great advice in the moment when I was scared to kind of push myself by injecting that boldness when I needed it.
Good mentor. I mean, he's telling you to take action. He's pushing you. He's making you do things you're scared of. It's a good mentor. Richard, what is your favorite book and why?
Book is...
And not your book, not the next
Oh, no, I wasn't going to say that. I forgot. Yeah, of course, my one is... I like The Count of Monte Cristo. I mean, there's lots of self-help books and things like that that I like. I like Milton Erickson, and I like Richard Bandler's old books. But The Count of Monte Cristo is maybe my favorite. I just like the story, the journey of the guy that, he gets thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit. And then it appeals to men, the story, because it's got this revenge where, he plots for many years and then he exacts revenge. It's very cool.
Sticking with the classics. I like it. And for the listeners, you can actually pick up that book, The Count of Monte Cristo, for free right now. Knowledge for Men has partnered with Audible, an Amazon company. So if you go to kfmbook.com, that's kfmbook.com, that'll take you straight to an Audible link, and you can download your free audiobook there. And moving on, what's one action one person can take right now that would get them closer towards their goals?
It would be to do what we touched on earlier, where they go out and just do a ton of approaches with no specific goal in mind. You're not trying to find a girlfriend or the love of your life. Just go out there and do a ton of approaches on men, women, whoever, and sign up to some classes in areas you've never considered or thought of doing. Go to hip hop dance class. If you're an accountant, you're not getting much from reading those websites on accounting or reading books on accounting. Go out and do something completely different. Sign up to creative writing, watercolor, drawing, yoga. Go out and do something, 2 or 3 things that are completely different, and you'll learn more in the first few hours of those activities than you will in many, many hours of doing the same stuff that you probably currently have planned.
You got to take action. There's no other way. I like that. Richard, what's your philosophy on women and dating?
Personally, I'm quite romantic. So, I believe in the stereotypical family. There's a lot of pickup guys that want to have multiple long-term polyamorous relationships and all this crazy stuff. But I don't think that's a proven model for happiness. So my philosophy is quite traditional or old-fashioned, and I'm quite romantic when it comes down to it.
Yeah, I do see that in you too. And Richard, as we're coming to a close, can you give the audience some parting piece of guidance?
I think what you've gotten from this, if you listen through until now, is that what made the biggest differences in my life were taking action, doing scary things, having the right role models around that maybe weren't better in all respects. Some of these guys I hung out with were nuts and, couldn't function in society in many ways, but they had things that were special that I wanted. So role models were hugely important. And if you're driven enough and you keep going in the right direction and take small steps, you'll get towards your goal.
And Richard, what's exciting you today? What are you currently working on?
I just finished this texting project, like I said, and I'm learning Russian. I've got a new girlfriend. I like to travel. I like to hang out with friends, and that's it, really. I've written a book. I've grown the company. I've achieved a lot of the goals that I had, and now I'm just trying to take some time to enjoy life and waiting to stumble across the next thing that kind of gets me energized.
And your company is doing well, and you have an amazing book bestseller on Amazon, The Natural. And before we head out, I wanted to get your idea, your vision of where the seduction, the pickup community is going, as it seems to be evolving every 5 years or so.
Yeah, it's moved from, it was originally created by nerd guys, so they made a very structured, strange kind of pickup, and then it's moved more to natural game, and you've got guys coming into it that weren't always nerds. So you've got this natural thing at the moment. It's growing in popularity. I think the market is expanding, but as long as we have this view of it being bad for men to learn how to be better with women, it's not going to crack the mainstream. I don't know how that would change, but there doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like it will. But I guess that's an advantage for the guys that get started now and get into it, that it's not something that, like, you know, a lot of guys go to the gym. It's way less common than going to the gym, but it gives you a way bigger edge. So it's kind of cool for the guys that get in there now.
Yeah, definitely. The industry does seem to be evolving and changing with time, and I think that's a good outlook on it right there. And as we're coming to a close here, Richard, give yourself a plug so the audience and the listeners can get in contact with you.
Okay, cool. So on Amazon, my book is The Natural, Richard La Ruina, and it's on, you know, Kindle and regular hardback book. And it's available in lots of different countries, Brazilian, German, lots of different editions. And I'm at puatraining.com if you want to check out our DVD and online video training courses. So we talked a lot about non-verbal stuff and things like that. And obviously that's what I'm taught in videos. Also tons of free stuff on our blog. And if you look for PUA Training Media on YouTube, I've got tons of videos there as well. So depending if you've got money and you're ready to buy stuff, or if you just want free stuff, you can go to either Amazon or puatraining.com or YouTube.
And for all the listeners, check out puatraining.com. That's Richard's website. And pick up The Natural. You can get that on Amazon. I'll put it in the show notes. It's a great book, best-selling book. And Richard, thank you so much for being on the show. You've given us such valuable wisdom, and we're all going to put that into place today. Thank you.
Thanks very much, man. It's been fun.
Okay, I am happy to announce that the Knowledge for Men podcast is #1 in iTunes, new and noteworthy, in the top 3 categories. That's business, health, and education. And honestly, it means so much to me. I couldn't have done it without you guys. I couldn't have asked for a better launch than what I've gotten, and it's all because of you guys. It's all because of the listeners. I'm working so hard to provide as much value as possible for you guys, working 12, 14, and sometimes 18-hour days, 7 days a week to design a podcast that will provide incredible content and get the best guys in the industry to help everyone listening crush life and reach their full potential. If you like what you hear, please write a review and subscribe to my podcast on iTunes to keep it growing and impact more lives in the world. You see, I'm on a mission here to impact millions of lives, and I'm starting with this podcast and my blog at knowledgeformen.com. Your success is my success. It truly is. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. So until next time, crush life.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast show. Now, go crush the day, live better, take action, and get the life you've always dreamed of.